Hey, good day to you. This is Todd. I'm a regular dude walking in the Word. Hey, we're going through Leviticus right now. This is episode 50 today. Who would think it would take at least 50 episodes to get through Leviticus? But it does, with all the details and good stuff in Leviticus. We're going through the appointed feasts, or the appointed festivals, actually, you would say, and this is part 4. So we're taking like one of those festivals for each day. Yesterday we talked about the celebration of the first harvest. This next one ties right in with it because it's just you count off the days after that to this next one, okay? And it's the Festival of Weeks. It's also called Festival of Harvest, and it's also called Pentecost too, okay? And this is taken from Leviticus chapter 23, verses 15 to 22. So if you have your Bibles, you can turn there with me, and we will read this and then talk about it. Again, this is dealing with the Festival of Weeks. Verse 15 says, "From the day after the Sabbath, the day you brought the sheaf of the wave offering, count off 7 full weeks. Count off 50 days up to the day after the 7th Sabbath, and then present an offering of new grain to the Lord." Okay, so you're to do it for 7 weeks or 50 days. Okay, so 7 weeks of 7 days is 49, and then you add a day. So does that make sense? 7 weeks or 50 days. Okay, and Pentecost was marked by 50 days after the resurrection here. So let's keep reading here. For verse 17, "From wherever you live, bring 2 loaves made of 2/10 of an ephah of finest flour, baked with yeast as a wave offering of first fruits to the Lord. Present with this bread 7 male lambs, each a year old, and without defect, 1 young bull and 2 rams. They will be a burnt offering to the Lord, together with their grain offering and a drink offering, a food offering, an aroma pleasing to the Lord. Then sacrifice 1 male goat for the sin offering and 2 lambs each a year old, for a fellowship offering. The priest is to wave the 2 lambs before the Lord as a wave offering, together with the bread of the first fruits. They are sacred offerings to the Lord for the priest. On the same day you are to proclaim a sacred assembly and do no regular work. This is to be a lasting ordinance for the generations to come, wherever you live." Verse 22, "When you reap the harvest of your land, do not reap the very edges of your fields or gather the gleanings of your harvest. Leave them for the poor and for the foreigner residing among you. I am the Lord your God." Okay. So this was a festival, and it was taking place toward the end of harvest. We talked about the beginning of harvest already, but you had this toward the end of harvest. And you were to give all these sacrifices and so forth. I would encourage you to, a lot of times on our harvest, you might say, our harvest is really like payday, okay? Or you might be like a contractor or subcontractor, and you don't get paid weekly, but you get paid when you do certain jobs. And for us, it's that way. You get paid after you do each job, and some jobs are bigger than other ones, and some of the biggest ones we do, you wait and then you get paid. It might be a flood or a mold job, and then you get paid. And when you get paid, it's like, okay, now I'm waiting to get paid, and then I can buy more equipment, I can do this or that. And so a lot of times we take that money that we get really from the harvest or those big jobs, and then we say, what can I get for myself? Because I've waited for so long for this. So you might go, okay, after I do this job and I get paid from that, I'm getting the new Corvette, or put a pool on the house or something like that. But I would encourage you, look for ways that you can bless God with that, instead of what can I do for myself? What can I do to bless God and bless His people? So it might be, instead of you getting a Corvette, you might think of ways like, how can I provide a van for an orphanage in Guatemala, or something like that, or a pool for the kids in Guatemala, whatever. Look for ways that you can give beyond yourself. And that's what was happening during this festival. You weren't keeping everything that you harvested, you were giving stuff back to God. Okay? But it goes on here when it talks about in verse 22 how you weren't to reap the edges of the fields. And we've talked about this already. And how this, and he said it's to take care of the poor and the foreigner residing among you. Well, this played out, and you can see how it played out in the book of Ruth. Ruth came, and she was a foreigner. She moved into this land. She was a widow, and so widows were just poor. They really had no way to get wealthy or anything. It was hard to even make money. Okay, so she comes in, and they agree to go to glean, is what the term is. And so she was going to go to the edges of the fields. And when the harvesters came through, they purposely weren't supposed to harvest everything, every last bit, but they were supposed to leave some for the poor and so forth. So in the book of Ruth, she comes along and she gleans, and they purposely leave. And Boaz was the field owner, and he said, "You guys better make sure you're leaving stuff for her." And he said, "In fact, leave extra for her. Purposely don't be picking everything." And so she came back, and she was gleaning, and she got a lot of food that way. And then you saw how it played out, then how she then developed that relationship with Boaz and how things changed. But this what we're reading here today is, you see how it's played out in the book of Ruth. How she was a foreigner, and she was poor actually too, and she was able to live by this passage here and use that. But the field owners had to be living by this passage too. They couldn't be harvesting every last bit, but they needed to leave some for the poor. Look for ways you can do that also. We talked about that when we've talked about gleaning before too. Look for ways that you're not taking every last bit when you harvest, but ways that you can bless the poor. So 2 things for you today to think about. When you get, you're blessed with a big job or whatever and get that extra income, it might be a tax return or whatever. Look for ways that it not only blesses you, that you can get stuff for yourself, but ways that you can bless others with that. Okay, just like they were doing with this festival. And then also, when you are harvesting, don't take everything, okay? And leave stuff for the poor. So look for ways you can help the poor in that way. All right. Hey, thanks for watching. I'm just a regular dude walking in the Word, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow as we continue our journey through Leviticus. Lord's blessing. I'll see you then. Hey, good day to you. This is Todd. I am a regular dude walking.